What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and this is episode 52. So we've been doing this straight for 1 year now. So pretty crazy to think that May 25th, 2020, I assume, I didn't actually go back and watch this, but I assume the very first episode was me shot in my bathroom, laying or sitting down on the walk-in. Or no, I guess I used to sit in the bathtub, didn't I? Yeah, I used to. Man, I actually kind of miss that bathtub. That was a cool bathroom I had back then. But anyways, yeah, just this is episode 52, and both by happenstance or perfect planning, you can decide which one it happens to be. But either way, after this, we're going to go on a 1 month hiatus. So I'm going to take a break from hanging out with you guys every Monday night, but I have enjoyed it, and I appreciate those of you that smash the like button, hit subscribe, and I don't know if anyone's been here for every single episode over the last 52 weeks other than Peter, but let us know if that's one of your claim to fames. And originally, I was kind of hoping, I guess I never mentioned this to you, Peter. I don't know if you've checked the mail recently, but someone said they were going to mail me a special bong, but if they are, it didn't get here in time. So alas, I'm just going to be smoking from my super dirty old bong that I've had since the beginning of this show, as well as I rolled a joint. Feel free to jump in there and hit me up with any questions you've got. I'll maybe answer a few. I don't know if this is going to be a long episode. We'll see how it just all flows. But yeah, what do you guys think? It should be. Let's start off with the bong first, and then we'll work our way into the joint. That's how we'll do it. So, all right. Otherwise, feel free to jump in there. Is there a 3% down in Canada? No, there's no 3% down. We've got 5% down through CMHC insured mortgages. I want to say that a year ago it was a simpler time and a simpler place, but we've actually been going through this bullshit for more than a year now. So last year was actually pretty much we were just at the exact same spot we were now with what are the rules, and we've been playing that record ever since for the last for just about what feels like forever. What did I just smoke? This is a combination of Maui Wowie and what was the other one? Do-si Do. So no idea what those are. Hey, what's up, Kevin? See Kevin always commenting from Lakeland, Florida. Where is Lakeland, Florida? I don't even know. Kevin, I'm debating between moving to Texas and Florida. Would you recommend Lakeland? Is that a place that should be high on my list of considerations here? Lakeland, Florida. Like there's a bunch of lakes. Story checks out so far. Oh, interesting. Hey, let me know. I was looking at a property that was just off of I-75, just north of Orlando. I'm going to say it was near like Ocala or whatever that's called. And I was shocked by how cheap, like, it was like a little ranch thing, just kind of like tucked somewhere. Actually, maybe it was a little bit further north. Maybe it was north of Gainesville. Maybe it was tucked over here. But anyways, I was shocked by how cheap some of the inland property was here. So pitch me on why this is a terrible place to own or live. And at the same time, pitch me on why the part of Texas between Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin and Houston, why that's a terrible place, or between San Antonio, I guess. I've noticed a lot of properties is like Davy Crockett, National Forest. There's a lot of cool properties right near that. So if there's a reason why all the Americans don't want to live on those cool properties, let me know. Because both of those areas seem pretty freaking cool to me. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Feel free to hit me up with some questions. But like I said, this is the last episode. So I don't know if I want to spend a lot of time on real estate, but we will be back, or at least my intentions are to be back after July 1st. iPhone 8, you ask the same question every time. I literally have no idea what you mean. Like, I don't even know if this is a bot at this point that's asking that question on every chat, but like, what do you mean by step up basis? You're going to have to be far more clear. Oh, at death. Oh, you did add. Sorry, that's my bad. You literally did add at death this time. I could have sworn we've never had the word at death before. Okay, so you're talking about, like, I don't know, guys. I just Googled this shit, right? Step up basis. Like, I'm not married to anyone. I'm not planning to die anytime soon. So these are things that I just don't worry about per se. Their heirs get a generous tax break known as a step up in basis, which means that assets get transferred at death with a new tax basis equal to the fair market value at death. This prevents the appreciation that occurred during the decease. Now, I wouldn't just take that as a guaranteed thing, but because that also looks like it has to do with the cross borders. But yeah, I would just talk to an accountant that specializes in this, right? I definitely don't specialize in estates. So, yeah. Anyways, look that shit up. I know that we've got special rules in place for farms, right? Family farms and things of that nature. So, also important to take that into consideration. Let me see. I'm going to see if there's a property here I'd like to share. I don't think I'm going to buy any of these, so I'll just pull up the stuff that I think looks cool these days. Yeah, I think that's probably the coolest one I've currently got open. So, like, pitch me on why this is a bad place to want to live. So, it's a little bit smaller lot than I'd like. It's 10 acres, but it seems like it's as weird as this sounds, a good 10 acres. Now, this is one of those properties that's not exactly in that well, I guess it's pretty close to the Davy Crockett thing too, but there just seems like there's a lot of properties tucked over here. I'm seeing a little bit further south. But anyways, pitch me on why this is a bad property or good property or a bad place or a good place to live. So, like, I already like the size of the lot. I like the fact that we've got a body of water. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, houses up here, and then you've got some outbuildings and stuff like that. Actually, no. Maybe that was an outbuilding up there, and the house was back here. Yeah, right by the lake. It seems awesome. 1.1 million US. Like, there's literally not a single place like this in Ontario I could buy. Even if you were to add like account for currency difference, right? Like, I couldn't find a single property like this in Canada for 1.4 million Canadian. Now, the only thing is, I'm hoping that if I decide to try and buy one of these American ranches, that the owner will just give me all his shit as well. Because, like, I don't want to have to furnish an entire house. And some of these houses have, like, a lot of, like, furniture and flair and details to them. So I feel like that's a couple $100,000 right there. But, like, what I love about Texas is, like, none of the pools I see are even goofing around. So this one's got, like, a nice little ease-in area, right, for kids. It's got a built-in umbrella. It's got a built-in basketball net. They clearly added this after the fact, but this slide as well. And then they've also got, like, built-in benches, right? Like, I'm used to just, like, basic Canadian pools. Like, you're like, it's not a rectangle. You must be rich, right? Like, that's pretty much how you know, like, the really rich people when it's not rectangle, where literally every pool in Texas has these, like, cool wade-ins for, like, I don't know, your kids or your dogs or your friends' kids and dogs. And all the hail protection you could ever hope for, right? Because every, like, thing is covered everywhere because of crazy ass weather. But yeah, I could totally get behind that. Oh, actually, this one was a good size. Yeah, that one was almost 50 acres. But there's a couple I've been looking at there in the 10 acre that, again, a little bit smaller than I'd like, but I could easily fall for them. Or even, like, let me pull up this other guy. This is getting a little bit cheaper, but again, this seems like a very reasonably priced property. And there's no way you would ever find anything like this in Canada at this price. 30 acres. In Canada, that wood is worth more. But again, like you got like a cool pool. It's not rectangle. Again, one of these wade-in things with the steps and the benches. I mean, to be honest, like based upon the shit I've seen in Texas, this is the basic bitch pool. But even that, I consider it to be a pretty nice pool, to be honest. I guess maybe we just got low expectations in Canada. I'm like, yeah, this seems like an amazing place for under $1 million. I think I like the other one a little bit more, but again, like there's always these nice outbuildings. There's so many places that also don't look like they're the desert, where I thought we are going to get huge. There are a couple properties that look like the desert, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. But the ones that are all nice and green and stuff. And like what kind of shocks me is how close you are to like things and stuff. Now, I don't know if I like that or don't like that, but yeah, this one's a little bit further west. But again, like it seems like everything that I've been looking at is kind of in this band, which like to me seems very conveniently located to a lot of things where you're like, oh, you couple-hour drive to Dallas or Houston or San Antonio or Austin. And like all these are like bigger than pretty much any Canadian city. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where that leads, but let me know if you guys are a Canadian expat or just a local to any of those swaths of area. Was a short-term cash out refinance? Probably the shortest would literally just be doing like a second mortgage, right? Don't even bother refinancing. Jessica's asking, hey Matt, hope you're doing well. Want to know what were your key takeaways while living with Stefan Arnio? Yeah, that was a while ago now, but that I believe, if I remember correctly, that was kind of February, March of 2017, so about 4 years ago. I spent, I think, just over 3 weeks kind of sleeping on Stefan Arnio's couch and making YouTube videos and stuff for him, and just kind of thinking about all that. And there was a lot of interesting takeaways. Probably like one of the bigger takeaways was it just kind of solidified for me that I thought it was really cool what Stefan was doing, but at the same time, I really wanted to put kind of my spin or take my stab at the culture, because I didn't necessarily agree with 100% everything that he said or did. And I thought that there was maybe a little bit more of a middle way or a middle path there. So probably the biggest takeaway I took was just motivation to go and start my own thing. And definitely, I wouldn't have built what I've built now had I not spent that time with him. So definitely grateful and appreciative for that. And it was a really interesting time in my life. I'd encourage anyone, if you ever get chances to do those sort of things, it's all those weird opportunities I said yes to that really led to the greatest payoffs or the greatest personal insights or personal experiences. With these low cap rates, is it even worth it anymore? That's a personal decision. But if you decide it's not worth it, then yeah, I'd say don't worry. Do I think there's a real estate correction coming anytime soon? I want to buy a condo to live in for myself. Well, when we're looking at a personal acquisition, right, of a property, I'm just hearing all the fireworks. I just realized that I thought most people put off their fireworks last night, but apparently a bunch of people are putting off fireworks tonight as well. That I think it really comes down to, does it matter, right? If prices change. And so, Karen, the big thing I'd focus on in your situation is if this is purely for personal consumption or for like personal use, right? And if I knew that I wanted to live in that condo for years to come, I wouldn't be that particularly price sensitive. I'd really be focused on my quality of life and what I thought was best for me. And it wouldn't necessarily be about trying to get the absolute best price on buying that condo. And if that was kind of my buying criteria, I'd more focus on, what's the right property for me? what's the right living situation, what's affordable, do I think that there's a risk of, like, if I thought there was a recession or a correction coming, is there a risk of me losing my job or my ability to pay? Do I think that there's, what's my probability or risk factor there? Am I comfortable with that? That's really what I'd focus on for a personal acquisition, Karen. And then what's like my plan B or C? If you're looking at it from an investment perspective, I think that's when you need to kind of pay more attention, I guess, to whether there could be a correction coming, and then, try and interpret what you believe to be the probability and the length and the severity of that correction. No one's got a crystal ball, though. No one can predict the future. And it's important to understand that what we should really focus on is what we can control, right? So for me as a real estate investor, I'm focused on, what's my expected rate of return? Is there any upside, any opportunity, any value add potential? Again, any way I can grow the equity or grow my cash flow is going to be attractive to me as an investor, where me just buying it and hoping that, the greater fool theory that someone will come along and pay me more money for the property, it's completely outside of my control. So similar to all the people that were, buying shit coins in the past, and I'm sure a lot of people are buying them right now because I see a lot of green on my screen. But, for people that were I think maybe taking a step back, this is a very dangerous time in this economy, in my opinion, to be investing in things you don't understand. It actually is always a dangerous time, but I think it's particularly a dangerous time in this moment. So I would just make sure that whatever you're acquiring for the right reasons, and you've got a plan behind it. Yeah, we do a lot of flyers. In a busy month, we might do like 600,000-700,000 in flyers mailed out. So definitely do a lot. I think for me, it's just about finding your voice and making sure that you're targeting your target demo effectively, right? Like, who are you trying to talk to? What are you trying to say? Is it very clear and concise on your flyer? And are you making sure that your flyers are getting into the right households? For us, we've had a lot of success in Canada, and I think there's still a lot of opportunities ahead for Canadians that want to do direct mail marketing campaigns for, like, We Buy Houses. I see a lot of potential there long term. Matt, how have your opinion or practices of frugality changed in the past year? In the past year, particularly, there just hasn't been a lot of changes in life, I feel like, in the past year because of COVID, really. But for me, probably the biggest change is just, and this isn't a good thing, it's slightly a bad thing, I'm going to say, but there's a good lesson underneath it. The real thing for me is, like, I'd already embraced things like Amazon a long time ago. I'd already embraced, well, maybe I hadn't embraced Instacart yet. I haven't gone to a grocery store in like the last year, essentially. Maybe once or twice here or there, but I don't think I've gone to a grocery store in 2021. So all my groceries I order through Instacart. I think that it can make sense depending upon where you're at. For me, I'm probably better to spend an hour working in my business than going grocery shopping, because I don't get any personal pleasure from grocery shopping. And I can probably earn more or create more value working rather than grocery shopping. So, that's a basic little hack. And then the other one is just embracing Uber Eats. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because I think most of us will naturally eat less healthy if we're eating out. But I just became comfortable spending money on Uber Eats, getting the Eats Pass or whatever, because between, ordering food for myself or team members, it just made sense. And, in this environment, I guess it can be easy to look at that Uber Eats bill and be like, that's more than, past Matt would have liked to have seen it. But when I take in consideration, like, oh, you're never eating out because, like, you're never really leaving the house in a major capacity. It probably still is a net savings overall. So I'm not much of a penny pincher these days. If you guys go back and watch my videos from 2016 or 2017, you can see where I share my entire budget. I was much more frugal oriented there then. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being frugal. I think just for me, the cost benefit continued to decrease, right? So as my net worth continued to grow, as I continued to grow more businesses and become more in demand or more active, it just made sense to want to keep outsourcing things. And there's a certain cost to doing that. But, I don't sell my time anymore for one-on-one coaching. But back in the day when I did, the last time I did it was at like $1,000 an hour. So I'm much better to goof around and do a couple things like that and then outsource huge swaths of my life if I want to try and be, make the most of the Matt McKeever machine as I can. And I can remember back in 2017 being in LA, hanging out at a friend of a friend's house, and he lived in this amazing house. They were paying, I think, 15,000 American a month back then in 2017 for rent, which was just mind blowing. And I remember he was like, "Hey, does anyone want anything to eat? Anyone want anything to drink?" And he literally just ordered like, Dial a Bottle and Uber Eats and like all this stuff. And we just had a giant feast, and there's alcohol and, weed and just everything there. And I was just like, man, like, this is insane. Like, how are you living this lifestyle? And like, don't you feel like you should like just go out and pick it up and bring it back rather than like pay the delivery? And it was just like me being frugal, right? And it was like, man, I'm trying to build a massive business here. I need to spend time focusing on the business, not like going to be my own driver. And at that point in time, he had literally he was just about to hire his own full-time driver so that he wouldn't drive himself to work anymore, or drive himself to the airport. And for me, again, that was like a light bulb moment where I was like, holy fuck, like, wow, you really value your time in a different manner than say how me or Jeff, or even at that point in time, Graham Stephan did. Right. And I took away a big lesson from that. And so, while maybe it's been a slow lesson for me to implement, just because I still always like to try and be efficient and frugal. And I just don't, the joy people get from eating out is not the joy I get from eating out. So it's just a lower priority for me. But definitely like Instacart, Uber Eats, and Amazon are almost the only three places that I really shop significantly for the last year, I would say. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. In fact, I don't even really like it. But welcome to Canada in the 21st century, apparently. So yeah, and gentle. 47K to invest in crypto. Would you buy 1 Bitcoin or 14 ETH? I'm going to take this as a pure joke of a question because, like, please don't. If you've got exactly $47,000 to invest and you're asking a random YouTuber, please don't invest in crypto at this stage. It may seem like things are very low, but it can still go a lot lower than it is. For me personally, based upon the research I've done and what I believe to be the risk reward, I'm really only interested in investing, if I'm going to use that word, in Bitcoin. I'm dabbling in NFTs, and a lot of those NFTs are on the Ethereum blockchain. So I am exposed to ETH, but I view that more like day trading or me goofing around, gambling rather than necessarily an investment. I think Bitcoin's a particularly interesting asset class. And because of that, I kind of make an exception for it. But I think it's dangerous for the average person to like ape into crypto. And that means just buy a huge amount in a short period of time. I would say you're much better to slowly ease into it and gain familiarity and comfort. And as you continue to learn, then you can continue to invest more. But it can be really easy to do a bunch of surface level research here and think that you're smart because you feel like you discovered. I'm not even going to like throw shade at any coins. I was about to say something, but I just think, can you run your own node? Can you run your own networks, right? Can you really participate in it? Can you mine it? Can you whatever it? And if you can actively participate and engage and it truly is decentralized, understand that that's different than something that's centralized. And so there's going to be a lot of entities that are recreating banks or Wall Street or other financial institutions and derivatives that already exist in this world and try and create it in the world of the internet and blockchain. And there's probably a place and demand for it. But at the same time, that's not the same world that I think Bitcoin is trying to build, or that maybe some of the more passionate individuals that actually believe their own rhetoric mean when they say DeFi and things of that nature. And so I think it's just like, I see a lot of like one weekend due diligence traders in crypto, and that's scary to me. I think you need to spend a lot of time, ease yourself into it. Don't try and get rich quick. I'd much rather see people trying to do things like wholesaling or flipping real estate to get rich quick than day trading crypto, just because it's so easy to get into leveraged positions and just get shaken loose. And if you need proof of that, just looking at the charts for the last 2 weeks or so will probably give you some insight into that. But yeah, it's just kind of my solicited perspective on all that is, ease into these markets. Don't panic buy. If you feel you're suffering from FOMO, that's the time to step away. All right. All right, just catching up on some of the comments here, guys. Still got that joint too, although that bong hit me pretty hard. But this is the last Monday night we're going to do for a while. So let's do this. I'll jump into some of your questions and we'll go from there. All right, let's rapid fire some of these. Also, with increasing inflation, do you think will it increase real estate prices, or the opposite will happen due to rising interest rates? Yeah, in economics and monetary policy these days is a very weird world. So I think that most Western governments or democracies are addicted to cheap debt and high asset prices and valuations. I think it's in very few parties' best interest to want to see that change dramatically. And so, unless that mental math changes, I think that we're going to see governments that are more likely to let inflation become rampant than they are to see asset prices erode. That's just my prediction. No one can predict the future accurately, though. So I think, the reason, Rocky, that you're probably thinking this or curious about this is, like a lot of people, one, want to know, will interest rates rise, because you want to lock in low if possible, but two, you're probably wondering whether to buy the desire to buy real estate cheap. And if we get into a high inflationary environment, I feel like we're going to see that inflation hit real prices fast. Maybe we already are to a certain degree. And I think that we'll see wages get pressured, either through just like naturally or through legislation, to see like wages go up a lot. And I think that'll mean that people will be able to afford a lot, and that'll drive I think if a government's forced to try and deflate or inflate their way out of this, I think they're going to choose inflation every time. Real estate guy doesn't want to talk too much real estate. What you try and touch base on, Matt? Always very informative. Appreciate it, Neil. Yeah, well, we talked a little bit, but I'm not sure when this got asked. 927, a while ago. Yeah, Texas, all that stuff, that's all good. Just in a variety of things. Yeah, I'm not sure what state you want to live in. Lakeland is in Polk County, Florida, east of Tampa. Are you born and raised there, Kevin, or Canadian? Or hey, Matt, what would be the first couple of steps you'd take if you were just starting off with wholesaling? First thing, if I didn't know much about real estate investing in general, I would try and understand, what do real estate investors actually consider a good deal and why. So I would try and talk to a couple of flippers and understand what's their business model, what are their profit margins, what are the real costs, what was a good deal they recently did and why was it a good deal? Would they buy that property again? And, what price would they be willing to pay for that property today? Understand things like that will really give you insight into the thinking of real estate investors, and that's always valuable. Any way or anyhow to approach farm owners? Well, definitely with farm owners, like there's going to be less of them, right? So you could either just do direct mail campaigns, or you could just when appropriate and legal, like knock doors, or I don't know what the equivalent is, drive farm laneways. Do you have a rule of thumb, short-term rentals for a quick analysis? Yeah, we use the 1% rule all the time, Patrick. So 3 rules of thumb that I use quickly to analyze deals is the 1% rule. Also the 50% rule, which assumes that 50% of your gross revenue is expenses. And then the 500-100 rule, which assumes that for every $100,000 I borrow at a 3.5% interest rate on a 25-year amortization, it'll cost me $500 to borrow that $100,000 in payments. So again, with those 3 numbers, I can quickly analyze any deal as long as I can estimate one of those factors, right? So like if I can estimate roughly what the gross rents are, I can quickly figure out what I'd be willing to pay for the property, what I expected to cash flow, all that good stuff. Graham Stephan mentioned in a video that millennial buying houses in 2021 would regret. Till what extent do you agree with him? I think it depends on why they're buying it. And so to be honest, if I don't know the video Graham did, but if I could put some words into his mouth, I would completely agree with him. So if he's saying that the average millennial buyer he thinks in 2021 is going to be buying from a place of FOMO rather than fundamentals, then I agree that they're likely going to regret it, because there is a higher chance now than probably in, the past couple of years for volatility in real estate to occur from pricing perspective. That's not to say it will happen, but probably a higher probability than there has been in the last few years. And so because of that, if you're buying from a FOMO, from a fear position, from an emotional standpoint, there's a greater chance you're going to regret it just because you're going to have an emotional reaction to anything that happens in the future. And so you probably need to get a sounder reason for buying real estate in the first place. I have a 1-hour drive each way to work 5 days a week, so I always focus on filling it up with something useful, i.e. McKeever and Finlay YouTube. That's awesome. Appreciate it, Michael. I've seen the future. It looks grim. Hey, Matt, where do you invest to look for competent, non-deceiving realtors in Ontario? Sorry, I know my own province's name, in Ontario. Hey, Matt, where do you suggest to look for competent, non-deceiving realtors in Ontario? I think, unfortunately, realtors are just made up of humans. And if you've met humans, there's always going to, in any batch of humans, there's a handful that'll let you down. So what you need to really focus on is not just what they're saying, but what they're also doing, right? So it's one thing to say that you're going to work hard for me or that you're going to put in lots of effort, but do you show any signs of that, right? Beyond that, referrals are powerful. So if you're an active investor, hopefully you can get referrals from other investors. And I would take a referral from another investor a lot more heavily weighted if that investor has actually worked with them. So again, there's lots of people that are on friendly terms that will refer you people, but they may have never actually worked with that person. And so just be aware of that. Because again, that shows a different level of kind of awareness or commitment or perspective in regards to that person's ability. Outside of that, have a conversation or two with them, right? Can they really talk the talk, or are they just saying random words? These days, I feel like in under 5 minutes, I can probably get a sense of whether an investor's the real shit or not. At least if they're based in Ontario, because I just know the markets well enough that do they mention anyone else that I would know, right? Do they mention strategies, techniques, costs that line up with my personal experience, or are they way out to lunch one way or the other? Because again, the more experience I get, the more comfortable I get calling people out when they misspeak or say something that doesn't align with my experiences or my interpretations of reality. And so, again, the more experience you've got, the easier it'll be to get a feel for, as you're saying, competent, non-deceiving realtors. But otherwise, focus on referrals. Are they investors themselves? If so, why? If not, why? And I understand both perspectives. Again, there are some realtors that are not investors that still make for great investor realtors. But all other things being equal, I'd say even in a realtor that's got 1 or 2 investment properties will often have a better perspective for an investor-oriented or for an investor than a non-experienced realtor. So. All right, I'll do one more here. Hey, Matt, I bought a 10-plex in which 3 units are paying $300 less than the fair market value rent, and their leases are ending in a few months. Will I be able to increase? It really depends upon your province's rules, right? But here in Ontario, you wouldn't be able to increase it. Well, if they're moving out and you're going to renovate and fix it up and then rent it out at a higher price here in Ontario, you could do that. But again, you should really just quickly read the rules, right? If you're going to become a landlord, especially if you're going to be a landlord that owns 10 units, make sure you really understand the rules in your province or speak to a paralegal or a property manager that does day-to-day rentals. But yes, here, if you had tenant turnover, but just don't assume just because their lease is over that they're moving out, right? So unless they've given you 60 days notice, there's a good chance they're not planning on moving out, and you can't just force them out. So really make sure you do your due diligence there, because I'd hate for you to be expecting one thing and get another. From an outsider looking in, Texas is greater than Florida. I kind of agree. I've got nothing against. Oh, that's not even the one I meant to share. I kind of agree. I've got nothing against Florida though. So, and also Ron DeSantis seems like the shit. I can't decide whether I want to see him become president or whether I'd like him just to stay in Florida. It's just so Florida can, become a beacon of liberty. We already did the step up in basis question. Do I require contractors to be bonded? So we're usually not doing projects or deals that big where I'm giving significant money over. So realistically these days our contractors are employees, right? So we've got an entire team that work for us. In the past, I was always just focused on them being insured, that they had the proper provincial stuff here in Ontario, like WSIB and shit like that. And then making sure that they could actually do whatever they were telling me they were going to do. And again, in my earlier days, I made a lot more mistakes and just hired people and regretted it, and would try and hire the cheapest person. Again, those are all mistakes that I'd like to think are in my past. And these days, paying for that quality is worthwhile. But different provinces or in the States, being bonded may be a lot more important on smaller jobs, or alternatively, on a much larger job, right? So oftentimes when you're doing big commercial or industrial jobs, they'll want their contractors bonded or have collateral or things of that nature in order to guarantee that, if they run off with part of the payment or the materials, that they can be made whole. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on another Monday night. I can't believe we did 52 of these straight. You guys have been enjoying them. Smash the like button. As I mentioned, I'm going to be taking a month off, so we're going to be taking a break, and we're still going to create a lot of content, but I'm going to be taking a break from some of the shows. We're going to scale back to a video a day, and we're not going to be doing these Monday nights for at least until July. But if you guys, I almost ashed out of my water cup. If you guys want to see this come back, let us know in the comments section. If you're watching any replays, all that good stuff. But otherwise, just glad that we got to do this for a year. And I really hope Canada gets its shit together, guys. If you're Canadian, you need to start speaking out against this shit. It's just wild, and it's wrong. So again, I appreciate you guys watching though, and I'll see you in the next video.